Hey everybody, it's Funny here once again. Hope you're doing well today. I am rambling about something a little bit different again. It's one of those episodes, that being on skateboarding. I don't know why I always need a prop, but here we go. If this is the first thing you've seen from this channel, then welcome. I'm Tafony. I usually do videos rambling about Eurorack synthesizer gear, hardware, synthesizers, but I also love doing a bunch of more conceptual episodes like this one here. I'll start this off. I'll preface this by saying I'm no good at skateboarding. It's been nearly 20 years, I guess, if you count it all up, of me doing it, and I'm still absolute ass, and that's okay. I'm not here to talk about me. We are here to talk about the sport, why I love it, why it's so addictive, and maybe just tell some stories about all of the journeys along the way. Hopefully that will resonate with some of you who are fat and old and still riding, like myself. So I keep bringing this into the frame. I don't know. So we got 10 parts here. This is part one, the opening, the intro. Why am I even doing this again, I guess? Skateboarding has always been a part of my life at varying degrees of intensity throughout my life. Sort of formally hung it up in college when I had a major injury, I guess. But I'm back on it again, and I want to sort of talk about it and share my excitement about it. I'm curious if any of y'all are the same way, but my childhood skateboarding friends, my lifelong friends, we've been all through the pandemic. We've been nagging each other on, basically being like, we're going to get out there, we're going to go ride, we're going to do it one of these days. And, you know, I'm like, okay, we've only been saying that for like 3 months, and then you look back at the group chat, and you're like, yeah, we've been saying that for 3 years, and we haven't been out there and started riding. However, recently my buddy Charles on Instagram, shout out Charles if you're watching this by some chance, but recently I posted a story with Vancouver Whitecaps and the Viagra Boys song Sports, because I love the Whitecaps and I love that frickin' song by Viagra Boys. I love Viagra Boys as well. So he knows I was a skater, and he linked me to Dead Dave's part in Heroin Skateboard's video Earth Goblin, and Dead Dave is skating to that same song, and immediately I was just like, something unlocked in me that like just instantly there's an addictiveness to skateboarding that, like, really, you know, anyone with any sense who had all these injuries, who was as terrible as I am, would just hang it up and move on. But there's something about seeing that, and I'll talk about other videos where this had done this to me in the past, where just like the excitement and the rush and the I don't know, is that what the kids call stoked, I guess? Like, I was just like so excited to see someone doing something so creative and ripping, and it just, you know, there's no way I could do any of that, but it is like, maybe there's old guy tricks that I can do that might be fun in a similar vein, and I am nowhere near on the level of Dead Dave or anything like that, but it did give me this kind of hope, as some other examples I'll get into later did, where I'm like, oh my god, I really want to get back out there and start riding again. So number two, I want to talk about specific boards. Back in the day, I remember always riding and breaking some like 7.5s, sometimes smaller. They weren't like kids boards, but just like back in the day. And I have size 13 feet. I remember riding like 7.25s around and stuff. That was just like the style back then, right? I think the Kai Fully Flared had just came out, and I like really was like, oh, someday I'll be skating boxes and stuff once I'm better, right? And then, you know, 20 years later, I'm no better than I was then. I want to say around like 2015, 2016, sort of the welcome decks and the old school shape started to take over, and I had bought the Heroin Magic Sticky Hand deck, which I thought was like so cool. And I was riding that for a bit, and that was sort of my second wave of skateboarding, if I can call getting back into it now like the third wave. When I was riding that Magic Sticky Hand deck, I was like, man, there is like something special and fun, and just like obviously I'm never going to be like Mickey Papa, who we used to ride with all the time because he was from Coquitlam, or Mike Moe, or any of the people who were like skating ledges and stuff, and that's okay. It was really fun to just grab a unique shape and ride around the park and try and do my, you know, frontside shove-its and stuff on flat ground as well, and I really like that about that Magic Sticky Hand deck. And I missed that one. And I did want to make some joke in there and say I was riding Heroin before it was cool, because Heroin and these egg decks are very in vogue right now, I guess, and I thought that was kind of silly. I was like, I remember like learning on a 7.2 to go to like a 9 now seems insane, but then I got one and I was like, you know what, I absolutely see why people love this so much. It's not as like uniquely shaped as I was kind of expecting. Like, people think it's like so weird to have an egg shape. I guess coming from, I was riding a Welcome Chris Miller deck that had like a completely almost trapezoidal tail. To come to this seems like a lot more like a popsicle stick to me, but I really like it, and I totally see, like, you know, I'm never going to do flip tricks. I landed one heel flip in middle school, so you know what, let's ride the egg, because it's really fun and satisfying and comfortable. It just feels like a little less like tic-tacky, or less like prone to just flopping out. I don't know how to even describe it. There's just something like pleasant about it, right? And now I'm riding it now and it seems really comfortable. I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I was riding such tiny decks my whole life with, you know, huge feet. I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, I am not a small person and I broke many a board along the way for that same reason. When I was a lot less fat back then, I remember buying a brand new Creature board from a shop. It was like a limited edition one. I think it was like Dave Gravett had just gone pro or something and he released this limited edition one. Hopefully I can find a picture of it. I'll put in the video here. But I remember the first day I was out riding it, I broke it in half. Like I hadn't even broken the deck in and it just snapped in half. So I don't know if it was a special edition. It wasn't meant to be ridden or something. I don't know. Apparently that's another thing too. I had no idea. People like collect skateboards. And when I went to my skate shop recently to pick up this deck, the guy was like, oh, are you going to ride it? And I was like, I hope so. Like, I don't know if he was just checking me because I'm so fat and old and he was just like not having it. But yeah, I'm going to ride it. That was the idea. I'm not putting it on the wall or something. I don't know. Anyway, that apparently is a thing though. I'll just say the other thing that I do really miss, and I just wanted to give a shout out to this board in some way, shape, or form. I would almost consider this like my first vehicle. It was my first Louis Barletta Enjoy Cruiser. Hopefully I can find a picture here. I rode that everywhere for a decade. Like, I can't even believe the amount of hours I probably put into that thing is absolutely insane. I rode it to middle school, I rode it to high school, I rode it to jobs, I rode it to parties, I rode it to, like, it just was, you know, the wheels had been changed a dozen times, the board was the same, I probably changed the trucks and the everything but the board, but like, that thing was my life. And I gave it away at some point during the pandemic, which I really regret. We were evicted dozens of times during the pandemic, thank you, the housing crisis, but I gave it away. And now I'm like, oh man, I really wish I had that thing back because I spent so much time using that thing as a transport. It had like longboard wheels on it, and I used to ride it to work. I'd ride it to my buddy's house. Like, I didn't want to be seen on a bicycle or have to lug that around if you just brought the skateboard, and that thing made it super easy to ride, like a longboard essentially. That was like our life growing up in the suburbs where transit was crap, and we just rode those things everywhere, and it was awesome. And I'm pretty sure there's actually a video of Louis Barletta tray flipping in a quarter pipe or something. I just remember there's some Enjoy video where Louis is riding his own deck and he does this like crazy tray flip. Anyway, I want that back now. I wonder if they still make it. I could get, anyway, I was like, hey, remember when you made that one novelty deck 20 years ago that was probably sold in an obscure Canadian West 49 in the suburbs of Vancouver? Oh, okay. Anyway, so number 3, really like the whole story of me and skateboarding is injuries, basically. I had so many, and this is the reason why I'm kind of questioning why I don't just give up, because I probably should. But I'll try and do chronological order. But we rode so very often when we were young. Like, it's hilarious looking back at how bad I was and still am, given just how much time we put into it. Because I remember, like, straight up as a kid, like, getting off school, just practicing flat ground tricks, like, trying to heel flip for, like, 2-3 hours a day, like, and never landing it. And that's just like, I think that kind of speaks to the beauty of the sport. Like, it is that addictive that you just like, you'll suffer for it. You'll injure yourself. You'll, you know, like I said, lose all that time practicing, and just like, it feels worth it. And as an adult, I'm like, yeah, the exercise is really worth it. And that's part of the reason why I'm trying to get back into it again. It's kind of funny looking back on it now because it feels a little bit like I put so much into it and it gave me so little back, right? But I think there's kind of like a beauty in that. I'm not trying to be poetic or whatever, but there is something to be said for just like loving something that much that you'll just kind of lose everything trying to pursue it, right? It's kind of a beautiful and scary thing to think about. The injuries, trying to go chronological order. I think the first one I ever had, flat ground, no comply 180. There's a lot of flat ground tricks in here, which is hilarious, right? That's why I always say, like, they talk about like, oh, I would never, certain people, I've watched interviews or whatever, right, where they're like, oh, I would never wear pads unless I was doing crazy stuff. And I just look at like me and yeah, I'm dog shit. So maybe there's a reason, but like you can injure anything in any circumstance, right? And life's a risk, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But yeah, first injury, no comply 180. I do them switch, so I landed basically 2 feet on the very back of the board and shot out. It was very stupid thing, just to like do a goofy little like not real trick on the ground, land 2 feet on the back, slipped out, and I didn't catch it with my hand. I put my foot down like that, and it broke my foot. Yeah. There's one. Second was in middle school as well. We had an indoor park where I was so bad I couldn't do anything at the park, but I had to sort of figure out this idea where if I dropped in on this little kicker ramp that you're supposed to sort of ride like a hubba, I guess, like jump up onto it. I was like, okay, if I can put myself on the top and ride onto the rail, then I could grind the end of it and drop down onto the ground. While I rode down that, I was landing it fairly consistently, but I couldn't do anything else, so I just kept doing it. But the one time I did it, I dropped in, rode on there, slid out the same way, except I went back and hit my head. I was wearing a helmet, but I got a pretty gnarly concussion. I remember being absolutely like brain dead at school for like a week. I remember being completely tired and out of it, and I remember like home economics class and being unable to like make nachos or something, and the teacher yelling at me, and I remember being like, I have a concussion, man. Like totally fried. Another random one, ironically probably the most painful of all of these, was I ran over my finger riding coffin one time, and it ripped the nail out of it. Sorry, I don't, that's even gross to think about now, but like, yeah, I ran over my finger while I was riding on the board like that, and it was probably the most painful thing might just be the most painful thing I've ever done in my life, because the nail came off and my finger was bleeding like crazy. It was just like, stuff in your fingers is just like the most painful thing ever. The biggest injury of them all, though, was breaking my wrist. So because I was bad and had a real job, I'd kind of put the skateboard down for a while, but I got back into it in college. I was riding, this was in that Heroin Magic Sticky Hand board era where we were kind of riding the skate park all the time, just carving and trying to, like, I couldn't do anything on the vert pipe. That pipe was huge, but I would try and like carve around the park and go ride and get higher and higher and try and do all this different stuff. But for whatever stupid reason, there's like I don't even know how to explain. I'll put a picture because I can't even explain it, but there's like a huge wall, and then it turns into a completely vertical actual wall that's like a small thing, and it's not even really attached. So I was trying to get higher and higher and higher, and then I finally got up to the point where I got up to the end and I could like slap my front wheels on the tire and then revert and come down. But this isn't a real trick, and it isn't a real thing that you could ride. So I went up and I finally get up, bonked the wheels off, and just went like, fell completely off of it, and skipped the whole ramp on the way down, just went onto my hands probably 8 feet or whatever from the top, and it snapped my wrist. Now, so hopefully you can see my wrist here now. If not, you've probably seen them in the video. Everyone always thinks I slipped my wrist or something intentionally, but I did at that time go to the hospital. Like, it was like immediately apparent. Like, I was looking at my wrist and it was like you could see the bone like completely snapped. And I went to the hospital. We were there for like 4 hours. They tried to reset it because they give you that drug that you can't mention on YouTube, and then they just pull your wrist out and reset it and put it back in. But it was so severely broken, they said they couldn't reset it quite right, and they had to do a second surgery. So not only did I go through all that, but I had to go home. They put me in a temporary cast while they were waiting for the other surgery. So I had to start recovering, and then like 2 weeks later or something, they brought me back in, and they did a second surgery. So tried to reset it, couldn't do it. Second time they put a plate in with screws and pins, and then basically you're like done, and then a couple weeks later you're back at it. So my wrist isn't completely back to normal, but it is mostly. And again, this is what I'm saying, that's like, it's a crazy thing to talk about and be like, yeah, this is the things I put into my body so I could do flat ground, no compliant 180s, right? But again, this is just like, it's a beautiful sport, and every time I see it, I just feel like it's so inherently, the appeal of it can be seen to anyone. You don't have to be a skateboarder to just see somebody ripping and just be like astounded by it, because even those who do ride and kind of have that level of appreciation, you just see it and it's like insane to see the things people are able to do with their bodies and in the environment. So I should also mention, when I broke my wrist that night, somebody at the park just said, we don't need to get you an ambulance, we'll just drive you there. So get in my car, I'll hold on to your board and we'll meet you after. And he took me there. So I can't even remember that guy's name, but I really appreciate you. So if you happen to be watching this, thank you. So in this fourth section, I want to talk about like the people, I guess, and I want to talk about skate shops, because they're often full of very nice people or very rude people and very nice people. Port Coquitlam Stiffies, if you are a Vancouverite. I didn't appreciate it when I was a kid as much as I do now, the service that Ryan was providing all of us kids, like, because he was super nice. He was never intimidating to go in, even to a shitty rider like me. He hired my friends. He gave us random discounts. Every time you bought something from there, he'd just be like, oh, you're like the homie, have whatever amount off, right? And like, we didn't ask, We didn't haggle. We didn't just like, he just, you know, he treated us with actual kindness for some reason. And it made me feel like I belonged, because when you went to other shops, be it West 49, they weren't rude, but it just kind of seemed like the employees there, and if you know West 49, this was a sort of like Zoomies, but Canadian before Zoomies was in Canada, and it just sort of felt like unapproachable. Those people just like, they just wanted a job at the mall, and they didn't like care about you. But then the other side, the more not as friendly side, I would say. I went to PD's Hot Shop, which is where Skull Skates is based in Vancouver, in like 2015. This was again that era when I was trying to get back into it as well. I remember going in because I needed bearings, and I was in Kitsilano at the time. So I was like, oh, let's go to PD's. That's the place where Skull Skates is. I always like wanted to check it out. So I went in there, and the people were like I remember them being like visibly annoyed that I walk in the door. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, and I was like, but I remember being there and seeing on the rack they had like Skull Skates button-ups, and I was like, oh man, that would actually be perfect because I have this work thing coming up. I was like, do you know if this is waterproof? And the guy at the front was like, yeah, it's waterproof if you don't wear it in the fucking rain, you idiot. And I just remember being like, okay, cool. Like, it's funny because if you watch the 9 Club with Andy Anderson, he talks about how he really appreciates that about PDs, how they like, they're no nonsense, and maybe they just saw like some fat asshole and me when I walked in, and they're like, get the fuck out. But I look at that now and I'm like, every time I see like Skull Skates was so cool and local and like iconic in my mind, and then I had that such a bad experience a decade ago. But I see Andy Anderson's side of it too, where like you gotta preserve the culture, right? If you were to sell it, like Jeff Grosso said, for pennies on the dollar, I think you might lose something, the specialness of it, right? Because we're all very attached to it, and that includes me. But on the flip side, I've been into punk rock long enough to see all the gatekeeping, and I'm just like, come on, man, we're on the same team. Anyway, so that was a decade ago, but I'm even more insecure now. This is part 5, the anxieties. I am fat, I am old, I am slow, and I am extremely bad. And after I injured myself, I was always like, I'm gonna wear pads going forward, right? But the problem is when you pull up to a park in pads, in helmet, in elbow, everything, and it's incredibly hot to wear at any time of the year, but especially in summer when I'm already sweaty and hot as fuck, it comes with this expectation that I'm gonna be like an old shredder, right? And I'm not. I'm terrible. So I am in this place now where like I love going to parks early. I love going when no one is there because they don't have to be self-conscious or embarrassed, or you know, everybody realistically is probably doing their own thing, and all the stuff I see online, everyone is so accepting and excited and you know, welcoming, and the whole community is so full of like friendly people. But every time I go to the park, there's just people like shredding, and I'm just like, oh god, I'm like so like embarrassed, right? And I have my own mental health problems with being embarrassed about everything, but when you get into something that embarrassing, it's just like so I'm really trying to just ignore that and ride, because realistically everyone is probably in their own head, thinking not necessarily the same thing, but concerned with themselves, and they don't care what this weird 40-year-old whatever guy is looking like in his helmet. So I still struggle with it, but to everyone else I would probably say, like, don't let the mental battle pile onto the physical battle. Just go out and enjoy your life, because if not you, it's going to be 100 kids on scooters cutting the other people off too, right? So anyway, I'd be remiss not to talk about the skate videos because they are so important. That's like the whole reason I'm back into it right now, is again just because of a skate video. I want to shout out some things from my era and things that I was really into along the way. Just no particular order. We have Almost Round 3 was kind of like one of the first videos I ever like really loved and downloaded. Volcom Let's Live I had on a DVD. That's sort of a hidden gem in my mind, I want to say, because since I've been back into it, trying to like find stuff and like back into watching skate videos and stuff, I don't see people talking about Let's Live much, but it was kind of the Volcom video that was centered around Shane Cross after Shane Cross passed away in that Ali Boala incident. So but it's funny with physical media, you like that was like my whole world, and when it's physical media, maybe nobody else paid attention to that or even saw it. saw it, right? So Volcom Let's Live, I feel like it doesn't get the flowers it deserves. Definitely check it out. Maybe the same story for Pigwood Slaughterhouse. I love that video. I think that just like was the style I was super into, just like huge ridiculous crap, and the soundtrack was amazing, and that kind of goes for like all of the music videos. Like my favorite videos, the soundtracks are always just like killer, including Foundation, Cataclysmic Abyss. I feel like that was kind of a big name at the time, at least, but that's an awesome video with an awesome soundtrack. Enjoy Bag of Suck was also one that we just binge watch all the time. I don't need to introduce you to Bag of Suck. It has its flowers, as does Baker 3, which again, that's probably the video I saw the most of anything. Fully Flared obviously changed the whole world. I don't need to introduce you to that, but I do want to introduce you to Momentum Wheels, Un Momentum Por Favor, which was a Vancouver classic, and I don't think Momentum's around anymore, and I couldn't find the video anywhere now, so I'm like, oh shit, are we on some like lost media stuff? Because I used to live right above Railside Skate Park in Port Coquitlam, and there's a part in it where somebody is not even skating the park itself, but they are like kickflipping the speed bumps outside, and I still to this day I'm like, I need to see that again, and I can't find it. So Un Momentum Por Favor, if you can find it, let me know. It used to be on Google Video for a while, if you remember Google Video. Fuck, I'm old. I mentioned getting back into it now because of Heroin Earth Goblin, but Fancy Lad Is This Skateboarding in 2016, that got me back into it. That was kind of like what set things off back in that day too. Like, man, that just seeing all the hijinks and the stuff those guys could do, I was like, you know what, maybe there's a chance for me. I'm a goober too. Part 7, the ethos, I guess, the seeing the world through a skateboarder's eyes. So Ian MacKay's always quoted in all of the skate literature about how you see spots the rest of your life. Skateboarding will imprint on you whether you like it or not. You're always going to see spots. You're always going to see the world differently and try and interpret it in an artistic way. And I know that sounds a little indulgent, but it really is true. And there's a reason why Ian Kai, despite not being famous for his skateboarding, is always referenced in skateboarding literature, because it is true. And Ian kind of embodies the ethos, if I could say, about what I really see skateboarding and punk rock and art about, right? To see life, right? He's kind of a moral exemplar, if you would. But what he says about skateboarding really is true. You can leave skateboarding. I did for a decade almost. You never stop seeing spots. If you see a bank, it's a bank. You see a ledge, it's a ledge. I never skated a ledge in my life, and I still see that, right? It's a beautiful thing how people are able to interact and reshape their world around them through this medium, if I could say that. Yes, it involves probably reshaping your body for the worse as well, but it will change your perception permanently. And part 8, yeah, I'm gonna do the skateboarding as art thing. Taking unintended objects and turning them into obstacles is a beautiful thing. Repurposing the city, repurposing the urban, or it doesn't have to be urban, but repurposing the landscape into something that was totally unintended is like the most artistic thing you could think of, right? I'm not trying to be super poetic or whatever, but it is true. Like, there's something really special about that, and that's why we all love skateboarding, I think. It's not because we're super into sports or action, or we're all athletic, or I know some people are like that, right? But people don't get into skateboarding because they want to win the gold medal at the Olympics. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but for most people, it's special to see how you reshape the world and how you can bring creativity through this chaos, I guess. The stair is a puzzle, and you can solve it with the lip slide, I guess. When you look at it through that lens, it's kind of like the most outsider of outsider art in a way. Anyway, the journey back now, I will say I basically haven't ridden for a decade for the most part. I got back into it, and I was a lot more familiar than I expected. I was expecting to have to relearn no complies or like frontside shove-its and like all these flat ground things that I used to do back in the day. Like, I was expecting to even like struggle to push, but it surprisingly came back more than I expected. Now, I am a lot more out of shape than I was a decade ago, but I was happy to see how much it came back. But I am noticing right off the rip that I am injured way more and recovering way slower now that I'm older, right? And not that I ever was super fast to recover when I was a child, right? But now it's like a whole lot worse. Even the scabbing in my knees when I fall over is like, okay, is it really gonna like be here for a week? And yeah, it is. Time comes for all of us, and I wish it would come sooner for my knee scabbing. However, just landing a no comply on flat ground, I have a hip disorder that I might talk about in some other video, but I had this like shooting pain in my hip after. I'm like, man, I didn't even bail, and I got Like, this has me thinking, do I really want to do this? Is this worth it? Like it is a ton of risk just to get injured for, again, no complies on flat ground. I won't go into too much detail in this, but one of my childhood skateboarding friends, his dad passed away recently in what is like really, really a freak accident, like doing something that isn't dangerous at all on the surface, just kind of like accidentally dying. And it kind of has me both thinking about that friend and the good times we had skateboarding back then, but also thinking about like you could die and like nothing's guaranteed. Like everything in life is a risk, even doing that activity that seemingly had none involved at all. Like you gotta kind of, really, life is short and you gotta kind of take some risks. I'm not saying I'm gonna go out there and like drop into a corner without pads or anything, or like do something ridiculously reckless. I'm extremely cautious and extremely aware of how long it takes me to recover, but I am thinking like I need to do this for my physical health because it's good exercise and I need exercise, but like, yes, there's risk of injury, but I think you just gotta kind of take it in stride because life's short and you need to do things you enjoy, right? Whatever you know, if you find something you enjoy, you're just gonna like toss it away because there's a risk. Well, if I get hit by a car in a major car accident, which you know, it could end up with all those same injuries too. So might as well do something life affirming while you're alive. So closing thoughts, skateboarding is a very special thing. It is a beautiful sport if that is what it is to you. It's a beautiful art if that is what it is to you. It's both very rewarding and very taxing on your body if you're like me. Even being old and slow, being fragile, if you enjoy it like me, you got to kind of take that freedom, the identity, and use the motion of your body to try and create something. I think I'm not trying to be super poetic, but I'm partly saying this because I'm having struggles with my self-consciousness and all of that. But if you're like me and you're anxious about starting and going and being in front of people and other stuff, I will encourage you as someone who's feeling the same things to just go, just enjoy it. There's 100 other people in your city just like me who wish they were out there doing it. And when I posted some of my shitty skateboarding clips online of me riding to my audience, which is obviously like Eurorack community, I was surprised with how much positive feedback I got from people who were like, oh, I really miss it. I really wish I was out there, but I can't now because X, Y, and the other thing. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be like a motivational speaker, but like, just go out and do it because everyone out there is like me, wishing they're out there, feeling the same things, focusing on themselves and not worrying about what you're doing, and we'll be happy to see you out there. So I'll encourage that. Just don't get hurt all the time like I do. All right, I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.